What is the samurai spirit? The samurai spirit is the moral code of the samurai in the Warring States period. The samurai were not just known for their swordsmanship, but were also known for their strong loyalty to their masters, loyalty to their colleagues, courage as warriors, respectful manners in their daily lives, prudent living, and fulfillment of their responsibilities. This moral code has been passed down to the modern Japanese. As a result, the Japanese believe themselves to be superior to other people. They are polite, well-educated, and especially strong in spirit. Of course, this is not something they brag about, but this belief is latent in their consciousness, especially among conservative politicians. They speak, act arrogantly, and look down on the people of neighboring countries. However, this samurai spirit that the Japanese are proud of and unconsciously practice in their daily lives has no historical reality. In truth, it is an imitated concept of European chivalry. The first appearance of the phrase and concept of samurai spirit in Japanese history was in 1899, when a book called Bushido, The Soul of Japan, was published in English in California, USA, by a man named Nitobe Inazo. Before that, there was no such word as samurai spirit, and of course, there was no such concept either. Strictly speaking, the word Bushido, samurai spirit, appeared in the 1585 book Goyo Kunkan, but the word Bushido, samurai spirit, here simply meant the courage of a samurai. But today this word encompasses loyalty, courage, faithfulness, and frugal life. The letters look the same, but the meaning is completely different. The author Nitobe Inazo was born in 1862, and after spending his school days in Japan, he went to Europe to study. In the introduction to his book, Inazo describes a conversation with a European professor. The professor asked, if schools in Japan do not teach religion to their students, how do they educate morality, and what are the moral standards of the Japanese? He could not answer this and said that he was embarrassed because Japan was like a barbaric country. A few days after this conversation, Inazo realized that chivalry was the origin of European gentlemanship. He had a vague recollection that there was a moral standard among samurai back then. If this samurai moral code were to pass down, then it too would become modern Japanese moral standards. Thereafter, Inazo went to the United States to further study, and he married an American woman named Mary before returning to Japan and worked as an English professor. While teaching at a university, Inazo fell ill. He returned to the United States where his wife's family resided. There, the people around him questioned Inazo about Japan, and Inazo remembered that conversation with his European professor. So purely to soothe his boredom, Inazo wrote a book. This book was called Bushido, The Soul of Japan. As we can see from the fact that this book was written in the United States, it was not a book that he wrote while researching related reference materials, but rather the stories of samurai he heard as a child, mixed with the stories of Europe he heard while studying abroad. The contents focus mainly on concepts valued in Europe that also exist in Japan. Like European knights, the Japanese samurai were well-educated and favored moral concepts such as loyalty, courage, faithfulness, and prudence. In a word, Inazo attached the noble Confucianism virtues to the old samurai, who were ignorant and knew nothing but fighting. He attributed the virtues of Europe to the samurai without any evidence. He claimed the samurai spirit as a beautiful ideal and moral norm of the Japanese nation and turned it into a virtue and a boast. This book was published in the United States and re-imported back to Japan, where it was widely read. At that time, the Japanese government, which was becoming increasingly militaristic through the Sino-Japanese War, the Russo-Japanese War, and World War I, was looking for materials that would brainwash soldiers and citizens. It used the contents of this book for its campaign. The Japanese government issued an order to popularize the contents of the book, exaggerating and beautifying the stories of old samurai through novels, comics, movies, and newspapers to brainwash its citizens. Thus, the samurai spirit, which did not exist in any real sense, was adopted as if it had existed for a long time and became the national spirit of Japan, and it has been passed down to this day.